Okay, in this training video, we're going to go start to finish with PostureRay, and we're going to do just a lateral cervical and AP cervical, bringing it in. A couple things. We have individual training videos on every single topic that are more in depth. This is just a quick from start to finish after PostureRay has already been set up. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to log in. Many people forget the basic login is admin, lowercase, and PR admin. So PostureRay admin, log in. First thing we want to do is we want to come in and create the client. Okay, so we're going to hit new, and we're going to type in their last name and the first name. They're male. This is me, by the way. And my birth date, 7/7/72, in case you want to send me a birthday gift. If you want to put in a client ID, if your office keeps track of client IDs with your EHR records or your x-ray system, you probably want to put the same one in there. Insurance ID, if you're in a state that requires that, that's up to you. You don't have to put anything in here for the address. And at that point in time, hit save. And on the newer version of PostureRay, it's going to automatically ask you, do you want to perform an exam now on that person? We're going to hit yes. On the slightly older version of PostureRay, it's going to populate a list of clients, find the person that you just hit, highlight them, and click New Evaluation. So now, at this point in time, the critical step is we're assuming your x-rays are already in the spot on your computer. They've already been pushed out from your x-ray software that you take your digital x-rays with. And what we're going to do is we have to choose the date the x-rays were taken and the evaluation date. Typical setting, you're going to have the same date even if it's not the date that you're doing it on, because the doctor's already looked at that. So what we're going to do here at this point in time is we're going to put the date. I'm going to go ahead and put in it's in 2014, these x-rays. And now the next thing we're going to do is we will put the evaluation date. Now, I'm acting like these are outside films. We're going to have two different dates, but most times you're going to have the same date in there, okay, unless they're outside films, okay? And any of these things that you don't understand, remember we have videos on every aspect, and plus we're going to do normal trainings with you anyway, okay, to answer all those questions. The rhyme, the reasons, and the manner that we do things and why we do things. Next, we're going to label the x-rays. I'm going to say initial exam. I'm going to choose lateral cervical neutral. You want to choose at least one x-ray that's there. And then we're going to come down to the DCM with the glasses, right? That DICOM browse. We're going to click that. And this should already be set up. This little right spot that says x-ray server, you should have information here based on what your x-ray vendors told us where your x-rays are being stored or where you're exporting those images. If you need to look for that, you would click this little button here and browse to it. This is already set. It's going to look in this location under test images, but on a folder on this computer, look for Joe Ferrantelli between this date range. So we're going to hit search, and then I'm going to hit select all because I don't know what x-rays are what. I'm going to click OK. Now at this point in time, we're going to scroll through and choose and find what x-rays we need to import. Realistically, we would pull in all the x-rays, right? So on this one, for demonstration purposes, I'm not going to go through and do all these x-rays for you. We're going to do the lateral cervical, so we're going to label it lateral cervical neutral. And this is what your staff member, your CAs really can do this in pretty much in most states. They can load x-rays. It's like no different. What they're doing here is no different than if you would put an x-ray on the view box, right? So they're just loading it and getting it ready. And I know some of you are going to ask, these are just different white-gray balances. So like if I chose the letter A, for instance, it's a different balance. Notice on this x-ray how it's a little hazy on there. C, D, and we'll hit D. Notice that doesn't look so good. And then on E looks pretty good. So we're going to just keep E. Got the lateral cervical selected. I just wanted to show you what this was up there because I'm sure you're probably wondering. Now let's go and look for an AP cervical. I can go ahead and use this one for an AP cervical, even though it's a hybrid AP open mouth, lower cervical. Just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to pull this in as an AP cervical. and I've browsed through 6 of 10 x-rays, okay? You can load them all, obviously. In most cases, you would load them all, but I'm just going to go ahead and just do those 2. Now, at this point in time, we finalize the x-rays. So we always want the lateral views to face to our left by convention because we have to do them in a predefined order when we digitize. So I'm sorry if the doctor views the x-rays to the right side. It's irrelevant if they do because we can always flip the x-rays to the other side, okay? But digitizing is always going to be to the left. No matter what their preference is, it's always going to digitize to the left because the output, we can flip them the other way for the view box and exporting images, okay? And the doctors always ask me questions on this. Wait until we get to the training to ask those questions, okay? And we will explain those in detail, the reasons why we do this. Basically, you have to predefine an order that we click. And we have to, the computer has to know what point is next. That's the easy reason. We already have lateral cervical. That's in orange. Notice that this one's now in orange here too. We're going to hit this. And notice by convention, another thing that is going to be surprising to chiropractors is the right side of the patient is on our reading left, okay? A medical view. Like the patient is, you're looking at them from the front with their posture the same way you shoot this x-ray, right? There's numerous reasons why we're doing this. I'll explain to you in a training why we do this. There's more things to think of than what we were trained in chiropractic college, especially marketing and interpersonal relationships with medical providers and stimulating referrals. There's absolutely some good reasons why we're going to look at them like medical doctors here. So don't get confused. We can always flip out the x-rays when we put them into your EHR. When you save them out, you can be flipped back to the chiropractic view. But for the reports, we're going to want them this way, okay? Again, it matches their posture. When you look at the person's posture, you're taking photographs of the posture screen. Which way are they facing? They're facing towards you. Nothing gets more confusing to a patient, even though they're going to nod their head to you. Yes, I understand, doctor. Inside, they're shaking their head. I have no idea what the heck this doctor's talking about, especially when my head's to the right, but the x-ray shows it's to the left. I learned, as did Dean Harrison, that sometimes we think they understand and they don't until they go home and discuss it with the spouse. So from a marketing perspective, the right side in digitizing and in the reports is always going to be on our left side. Okay, so it matches the front-facing posture and what other healthcare practitioners would do. At this point in time, we could stop and save and come back later. We've loaded the x-rays into the system. At this point in time, we're ready to digitize if we'd like. We'll go ahead and do so. I'm just going to go ahead and hit save. Those are in there. And it tells you off to the side what we're going to hit. In the very beginning, we're going to uncheck the skull markers. That's more advanced. And we're going to just start where it tells you here. So keep an eye on here, and it's going to tell you right through here what's going on, okay? So at this point in time, what we're going to do is I'm going to just make this a little bit brighter or larger for me to show in the video. And I'm going to go ahead and digitize these known landmarks, okay? And notice how over here it's telling you where to go. So now we're going to go ahead. Oh, I forgot to turn on the, let me turn on the aid lines. The aid lines allow you to line it up with the vertebra. And I will answer a lot of questions about when you have bone spurs and things like that as we go. And when you're magnified in, you can see that it will jump down. So that way it makes life a lot easier when you're digitizing. Okay, and if you can, we'll try and do T1 as well too, if you can. Okay, and at this point in time, if I wanted to see the normal lines, notice there's normal line, there's a red line, and here are all the values. Now, in our videos, we go through what all those mean. For right now, we'll wait until those other trainings, or you can refer to the individual videos. So now I'm done with the lateral cervical x-ray. If you need to move points, you can go back in here. We can click the magnify. And so like if I wanted to drop this down just a little bit like that, I could drop it down. So you can change any of the x-rays after you've already marked the lines on there, okay? And at this point in time, if I wanted to put in pathology notes, I could come in here. And again, we'll go over this phrase builder with you. But so on this one, you can make up your own terms, but I'm just going to go ahead and say, let's just go ahead and just say no broken bones. Okay, and then the comments to the patient. This is the build relationship with it. So they have a forward head posture and link to upper back pain, headaches, accelerated degenerative changes. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save on that one. And then let's go over to the AP cervical. Remember, we're going to go from our reading left, which is the patient's right, to the side. That's why it says your left, the patient's right. Okay? Right now, the way I have this is it's going from C2 down to C9, T9, but I cannot see down that low, so I'm going to uncheck and go down to just T2. Okay? So at this point in time, I'm just going to go ahead and digitize the center. There we go. And there we go. And then when it gets in this transition area, you want to make sure that you hit like points. So I'm going to go ahead with the like points right here. And then I'm going to jump down to T1. I'm going to go in this area. Okay, T2. Okay. Now at that point in time, I'm done. I can go into the impressions. I can put in here. Now these are all specific to AP views, right? So I'm going to put no bony abnormalities visible here. For comments, I'll just go ahead and leave it blank. So now I've successfully done an AP and lateral cervical analysis. If I want to generate a report at this time, I just hit view report. And this is the patient report, this is the clinical report, and another clinical report. We can add logos, we can add different templates. These are all different videos that you'll see in the future. And some of these choices are not on your version yet because this is a new unreleased version of PostureRay. So don't let it worry you that you don't see certain things like templates and things like that, okay? It's because you don't have this version yet if you're watching this video. It's soon to come out. So at this point in time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select at least the patient report. I always like the introduction and x-ray exposure if they're new patients. If they're existing patients, maybe uncheck that. But I'm going to keep that in there. What we're going to do at this point in time is I'm going to hit view. So if you have the signature turned on, you can sign your reports. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save. That's off by default. Okay. And now I have a patient report, which we can go ahead and scroll through, but you've already seen this. This is the report of findings packet that you're going to give to them at the report of findings. And you notice that if we go down to lateral cervical, what I put into the comments, notice that this is them. And remember what I put into the comment section is this abnormal neck alignment. You can freehand type any of this through here, but this is what I put in here. The top paragraph was already put into the system, okay? So you can see that we have a patient-centered report as well as the clinical report would be known as the impression report. So it would be your radiographic report that you need, like if an insurance company asks for your medical records, things like that, which we'll go through the table of values. And remember, we'll go through what this means. If you're already a doctor through our seminars, you already know what this means. But this is not what you give to the patient. The first one's what you give to the patient, okay? So at this point in time, we can export this to an EHR. If you have an EHR like Genesis that's already supporting direct importing of PostureRay, or we can just hit save all. I'll just save this all out to my desktop into, we'll just put them into this folder called exported. So now the PDFs are there safe, exported to that folder so I can put them into my EHR. The next part in the training that a lot of doctors want to always do is go through and show how the view box works. And since this is a start to finish video on just the basics, I'm going to jump into the view box just to show you some of this. What we're going to do at this point to pull in a patient into the view box, we go up to the top left, select images, and we're going to type in their name or like this. And what we're going to do is hit search. Now, I had more than one set of films in there, okay? So they were 12/11, 2014. Now notice these are different dates of service. All I have to do is click on the name and notice it populates normal versus them. You see that? Okay? So what I want to show you is we hit view and I'm ready to go. I can go ahead and draw on the x-ray if I wanted to, where I could show them, you know, where they have problems on their x-ray. I can hide the lines. I can turn the lines back on. I can do a vertical axis line to show the difference on where their neck should be. And one of the other tools that I like to do is I like to turn this on so I have the breakdown of all their levels of subluxation. Okay, so in this case, they actually have a hyperlordosis by about 10% over where it should be, mostly in this region. Obviously, you can see, and their head is shifted forward. This is all secondary to hyperthoracic kyphosis. How do I know that? Because it's my spine. So there's no miraculous way that I could tell that except for it's my body. I try to make you guys laugh a little bit during this training video at least, right? Anyway, with that said, if you want to turn the x-rays on their side and things like that, for instance, if someone's asking you, well, doc, you know, what's that drop table do? Well, I could turn it on the back here. And, you know, Mrs. Jones, when we drop the table down when you're laying on your back, the headpiece is dropping this way, and we're bringing your spine to a more healthy, stable position towards that green line is what we're doing. Or maybe you draw like maybe you drew, like this spine is not a candidate for cervical dental roll, but maybe it was a kyphotic neck. You could draw a dental roll underneath here and show how it pushes up into the spine and how you get that nice, healthy curve back into your neck. It's for patient education on why you would turn the x-rays. When we're done with that view, we come up here and just hit the frame advance. So now we can go ahead and show them versus normal. And again, we always have the breakdown here. So that's the quick down and dirty version of how to use PostureRay from start to finish importing a client. We'll go into much more in-depth tutorials, and we also have training set up. But remember, if you have to get to anything, you just hit this help button right here. It opens up the browser window and goes right to our training videos. So say I needed more practice on, say I haven't been trained yet, but I need to be able to do a scoliosis. Type in the word scoliosis, type in, click the link, and there, my friends, is the training video on how to do a lumbar scoliosis digitization. Or questions people always ask about, well, what about instability? And instability analysis. So everything is searchable, okay? What about, doc, how do you measure a short leg? Type in, you guessed it, short leg. AP modified Ferguson view, short leg view. Okay, if the video doesn't show up in this region, just click the link and it'll open up the YouTube video. Some of the older videos only show the link, okay? So that is how to navigate our help center. Remember, if you want to get to the original, you just click the home, and where we were just at is under the PostureRay EMR. Okay? If you're on our main website, if you wanted to get to this outside of PostureRay and you're on our main website, all we have to do is come up here to help and support, click right here, and it brings you right back there to the help section. So if you wanted to check out Posture Screen and see what's new with you know, the cloud synchronization service with Posture Screen, you can watch those tutorial videos. So everything is through here. This is our main training area under the help button, so you can train your staff members on every aspect of every piece of our software. Okay, it's not password protected. You could find pretty much anything there. Okay, so that concludes our initial training video on PostureRay. If you have any questions, easiest way to reach us is through the support icon, which is right here. Okay. This is what you should have on your desktop. Or what you would do is go ahead and click in call us, or best yet, just email support@posturescreen.com. Thanks.